CryptoSLO with more crypto gains. So you want to build a rig. That's why you're watching this video 2018.
CryptoSLO, cryptocurrency news and investing.
So this video today is not going to be a discussion on whether or not you should build a rig. We are simply going to present about how much it's going to cost to throw a rig together with a max of 8 video cards. So let's get right into it. So the first things first. First thing, you're going to need some parts. So we got our rig frame. Now some people say that this isn't totally necessary, but I really like to have a frame. It keeps things from shorting out and just keeps stuff organized, and you know, it's just a good idea, and the prices come down dramatically on the nice 8-stack rigs. Second, a burner to install Windows. Now I know some of you are crafty with USB drives and all kinds of other mechanisms, but honestly, for the noob, you need a burner. Throw your Windows 10 disk in. Chip. Basic chip. We're going to go very basic here because we're assuming CPU mining is out and it's really an extra expenditure to get a nice chip for your rig. Now, the benefit of that is you don't need to get a fancy cooler because your chip's really not going to be doing much. Memory, of course, speaks for itself. Solid state drive, minimally large in size. Conversely, if you're going to store wallets on your rig, which that's a topic of debate, you might want to get a little bigger drive, but again, we're sticking to the basics. 1,000-watt power supply to start out with. This will power 3 to 4 cards. You will end up getting 2 of those if necessary if you're going to expand out to 8 cards. Risers, these are the things that make it possible for you to hook the video cards up to the motherboard. A motherboard that supports all these cards, compatible up to 3 power supplies. Obnoxious power button, totally optional, but I think is a really nice option. And Windows 10, of course. Now, this basic package puts you at about $869, assuming you can, you know, cut some corners here, or you have some parts, you have Windows 10 laying around, or you have some memory or some compatible stuff. You know, go ahead and use it. You're going to cut your costs. So let's get right to reviewing our parts. So the first part is the rig frame, and boom. So this is the Veta 8 GPU stackable mining rig frame. Wow, the price has really aggressively gone down. 95 bucks was 250. As you can see, really nice setup. I've got one of these. The fans are kind of a debate. It doesn't come with the fans, but whether or not you need these fans, you know, you'll see it both ways. I personally did not install the fans initially to save money. I guess if I scaled out the cards, I would add the fans later, but it does come with those little yellow pieces you see there, which helps you connect all the fans together. So pretty self-explanatory. The motherboard goes in the center. Your power supply is on the left and right. In my case, I just had one power supply to start with, so I put my burner on one side and my power supply on the other. So overall, putting this together took a little time, but the finished product was worth it. The tolerances aren't as great as I would like to see, but for under $100, what do you expect? So, burner. Pretty straightforward Asus burner, 20 bucks. If you got one laying around the house, you don't have to buy it. Not really much to say. SATA hooks up, you know. You could always sell it after you're done. Now the chip. The chip is up for debate, but as a general practice, I'm not going to be doing any CPU mining. So I'm going with the lowest Skylake dual-core Celeron that I can get, which is the G3900. It's 40 bucks. And the nice thing here is you don't have to get a fancy hypercooler because you're not going to be doing mining with it, and it really doesn't affect the performance of your GPUs. Memory. So the memory I chose, there are some off names. You might be able to save $10, but I went with tried and true Corsair Vengeance. Really like this memory. No problems. Now, I kind of looked whether or not you do a single 8 gig stick or two 4 gig sticks. It kind of varies on whatever you think you're going to get a better deal on. And this was the DDR4 2400 PCA 1920. Now, with that being said, there is faster memory. Don't let someone try to upsell you on memory that's faster. It's not going to affect your mining performance. Once again, we're looking at the bare bones. The money needs to be saved for your GPUs. Solid state hard drive. Pretty straightforward. Again, going with a name brand, Kingston. This is a little baby 120 gig. You could bump it up. Let's see, how much is the 240? 240 is about 30 extra bucks. To me, it wasn't worth it. I'm not storing a lot of the blockchains on my miner. This is the only reason you need a bigger drive. So from that standpoint, I just go with the bare minimum 120 SSD. Once again, we're not doing other functions besides mining with this setup. 1,000-watt power supply. Now, for some odd reason, if you get a 1,200-watt power supply, the price goes up substantially. I just can't figure this out. And I've also found that the RMI series are a little less pricey than some of the other Corsair series. I've had zero problems out of mine. 1,000 watts. This is going to be good for a couple 1080s, couple 1080 Ti's. Right now, I'm running three 1080 Ti's on it. No, wait, two 1080 Ti's and one 1080. No problems. Riser cards. Now, I looked on Newegg, and a lot of the riser cards in Newegg are from Japan and all kinds of crazy stuff. I wanted something that was local. Now, here's some important parts about these riser cards. If you'll notice, this has some improved connections. It has the 6-pin for the power to SATA. Another key point is, see how the USB goes up? It goes up and is not going to the side. This is important because this can block your things and situations. Now, as far as the versioning goes, I use version 9. Some of the 6s and 7s I've had trouble with. I just went with version 9s, no problem. Love them. Motherboard. Going with the Asus B250 Expert. Really nice board. Has a nice startup screen. When you start it up, it actually shows which cards are functioning with a green. Has an advanced mode. Totally love this. Now, there's going to be people, okay, obviously we're only running 8 cards. Why do I need all these slots? There's going to be people that say, I could save $20 on a motherboard. Yeah, but look at the return rate on a lot of those other motherboards. I wanted something that I know was going to be solid, and I've had zero problems out of my Asus B250. Love this board. Obnoxious power button. Now, the rig does come with its own power button, but I just love this power button. It's a giant, it's obnoxious. I love it. So this basically, you set it up on your motherboard, push the button, boom, it runs. Turns your rig on. Now, I will say the Veta rig frame does come with a very basic power button, but if you want the fancy power button, then you get that. And finally, we're doing Windows. Once again, you could go alternate. I like Windows 10. 64-bit Pro allows remote connection, which I can access my rig anywhere. Maybe you have another, you have an MSDN license or something. You can get your Windows 10 cheaper. That's completely up to you. So, and that puts us at $869. And then you're like, well, how much more is it going to cost to add cards? Well, basically, you're looking at $300 to $1,000 per card that you add. And your choices are going to be AMD, and NVIDIA. And let's go back to Newegg. And it's pretty easy to find cards. All you have to do is type in GeForce, GTX, enter, and boom, you got all your cards. You're starting at the base models with 1060s, 1070s, 1080s. So it goes basic. Well, actually, it starts lower, but it's really not even worth mining if you're not going below that. But 1050, 1060, 1070, 1080, and all those come in TI variants. So you just choose your hash rate, and then you figure out, kind of where you want your cards to be. Conversely, you could do the those are the NVIDIA cards, the 50, 60, 70, 80. The AMD cards, those are the Vegas. Those are the bad boys, flagships. As you can see, the Vega 64s. Those are 600 to 800 in that area. But you can get they have the 550. And actually, this is the RX line. So it goes RX 550, 560, 570, and oops, actually, we'll just do it like that. RX 5. Yeah, so you can see I just typed RX5, gets me the whole array of all the RX cards, and like I said, those start from 300 and go up to the flagship Vegas. So let's just say you put one 1080 Strix in your system, 629. So say you're starting out with one card, 629. Oops, 629. That puts you at $1,500 for a basic rig. The bottom line of that would be a 1060, which would run you about $329, and that puts you at about $1,100. So, what's the bottom line here? You're around $1,100 to $1,400. Okay. So this would be a 1060 setup, and this would be the 1080 setup. So you can see that rig is going to set you back about $1,100 to $1,400. And then as you add cards, it's going to get more expensive. And then keep in mind, after you go over the third or fourth card, depending on which cards you do, you're going to have to add that second power supply, which is another $200. So hope you enjoyed this video. That is a rig build for May 2018, and that's what I would recommend if you're wanting to get into mining. So this is CryptoSLO. If you're not talking gains, then we're not talking.